But without further ado, I want to introduce this session. We're going to be talking about the Vassal system as well as Discord and how you can use those two to play GCACW online, either against one opponent or multiple opponents. And the folks we have teaching this tonight are, first of all, Zeke Conover from Woodstown, New Jersey. He's been a relatively new player to Great Campaigns. The first time I met him was last year at the Winter Offensive, and he showed up, and the first time he'd ever played, he ended up winning our short scenario tournament. So, and he's now the scenario king here on the Vassal server that Matt set up. And he is an F-16 avionics technician out of New Jersey, working for Boeing. Our other presenter is Matt Ferrand. He's located in Concord, North Carolina. He's been playing GCACW for 3 years, and his big claim to fame is he had the idea to set up this Discord server on which we could play games through Vassal and Discord. And it's been a great help to the community. He helped set up this site so we could have this whole convention here on the Discord server. So we owe him a big round of applause for that. And as I said, he's from North Carolina, and he's a software database developer. And with that, I'll turn it over to them. You can either, if you want to chime in, you want to take your microphone off mute, you can chime in with a question. There's also in one of the chat rooms we have is called Session Questions. So if you have a question during the session, you don't want to interrupt the session, you just may want to type it in there, and our presenters will keep an eye on that chat room, and maybe you can answer your question at the end of the session. So without further ado, I will turn it over to Matt. Gentlemen.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Like Ken was saying, my name's Matt Farron, and Zeke as well is on here. So what we'll be doing is we'll start off with going over Discord, basically what it's used for, and then how we use it for Great Campaigns. And then Zeke will be covering how to use that along with Vassal. So one thing I'm going to do is, can everybody see my my video? Everybody can hear me okay? Okay. So one thing I'm going to do first is share my screen. So let me just pull that up here in a minute. So one thing I wanted everybody to do before this session is to fill out just three questions, basically for us to kind of get an understanding of where everybody is. So we got 15 responses. The first question was, are you new to Great Campaigns? So we've got 7 that are new, 8 that are not. And the other 2 questions were, are you new to Vassal? Looks like more of you are familiar with Vassal. We've got 3 that are new. And Discord, we've got more of you that are new to Discord. So that's one of the main reasons why we wanted to set up this session, especially with this past year with everything going virtual with COVID. That's one reason why we set this up. I believe it was early last year. I think, Ken, you had set up some events for beating the coronavirus. So we got this set up to try to bring everybody together in one place. So it seems to have been working pretty well this past year. But I'd like to go through and kind of show you guys how Discord itself works. So at any time, if you have a question, just let me know. So since you all are here, it's all already assumed that you've got logged in, you've got your account set up. On the far left of Discord, if you're a part of more than just one server, and when I say server, this Great Campaigns of American Civil War is one server. But there's also others, like, for example, we've got Battles of American Revolution, Battalion Combat System, so there's a whole bunch of others that you can join as well. So once you're part of a server, especially on the Great Campaigns, I've got it set up into different sections. So the very first section that you should see is server info. And underneath there, we've got some announcements that you can go to. When someone joins the server for the first time, they come under welcome. And I should point out that there are 2 types of channels within a Discord server. You've got a text channel, and you've also got a voice channel. So if it's got an ampersand in front of the channel, it's just a normal text channel. So you can go in there and you can chat. We also use those for play by email. One thing that's nice about Discord is you can attach files and send back and forth. So I'll show you that section here in a moment. Under server rooms, if you want to look for different types of games, we have scheduled games that are in here, game results of ongoing games that we've got, just general questions you might have, introductions if you want to introduce yourself to everybody else that's on the server. And then, of course, underneath that section, we've got the Winter Offensive. And I'll come back to that here in a minute. And you can also click on the section, and it'll minimize it so it doesn't take up too much room for you. There's a looking for game section. So if you're looking for a live game or a play-by-email game, you can post in here. Module-specific sections, if you have a question, maybe about rules, about a specific module, you can post in there. Down below that is where we have our play-by-email games. So if you find an opponent to play with play-by-email, it's pretty simple to set that up. You can just right-click on the heading, and you can, or not right-click on it, but if you actually, let me bring it back up, click on the plus, you can create a channel underneath there, and you can type in, by default, it's a text channel. And normally what we do is we just put each person's name that's playing, but I'll just type it in as test. And it'll show up at the very bottom here. And it'll pop up by default. And then you can just drag and drop your play-by-email files back and forth to each other in here. So, for example, I'll bring up one I've been playing with John Sleeper. So you can see here, you can actually just drag and drop files. You can open them from here. So it's pretty efficient of doing it that way. And then one thing you might want to do is on the play-by-email channels, by default, they're not muted. So if there's a lot of games going on, you'll have a lot of pop-ups saying that there's a new file in there. So you can just right-click on it and go to mute channel and just do it until I turn it back on. So that way you're not got too many pop-ups on your screen from all the different files being pushed back and forth. Underneath that section, we've got the Scenario King. So this was one set up by the server. Basically, it's like a King of the Hill type ongoing scenario we've got going. So you can challenge the current Scenario King, and then you play a scenario. And then whoever wins that continues. Either you get a new Scenario King, or you take them off the pedestal, and now you're the Scenario King, and then someone can challenge you. But we've got the rules under there. We got the different games that you can go check that out. And then underneath that, we've also got some other the gamers games from Multiman that we're also playing on here as well. But let me come back up here to the Winter Offensive. And then if you were in the coffee house earlier today, you probably already know what some of these sections are. But we've got an announcements section. So if you are wanting to know what's going on, we've got a lot of files in here. For example, learning how to use Discord or Vassal. Those two files are at the very top. And then Ken's also got the latest Winter Offensive document that you can download to see all the different events that we've got. If you've got any types of questions, there's a main desk channel. If you want to sign up for any of the scenarios, there's a link under there. And all the different matchups for the short scenarios are under the schedule matchups. One thing I've got going is I've got an automated scheduler that every 15 minutes before each event, it'll pop up, just kind of remind everybody what's going on. So you can just remember, if you've got a scenario coming up or something like that, you'll be able to catch that. Now I want to go into some of the settings for Discord. So down here at the bottom left, you'll see next to my name, there's a mute button. So if you click on that, it'll mute. If it is muted, you'll see a red slash through it. And then you also have user settings. Now, if you're having some issues with like your microphone or a video, this is where you'll want to go. There's an app settings section, voice and video. Now, if you're having some issues with maybe your microphone's not being picked up, you can do a mic test. So you can check to see even if Discord itself is picking up your microphone, and you can change your input volume here. And up here at the top, input device, you can select your microphone. Two different input modes, voice activity, like what I've got right now. You can see if it detects your voice, it'll start transmitting, or you can do a push to talk. And I think by default, the tab key is set as the push to talk button. And then down here at the bottom under video settings, this is where you can select which camera you want to use if you want to use a net cam. Those are some of the basics. Is there anything in particular that anyone was wanting to know about Discord?
Matt, what's the ability for individuals to go in and set up their own rooms on your server, or even to set up their own server on Discord if they want to do something like that?
Yeah, so if you want to set up a room, particularly like under play by email, everyone's got permissions to do that. So under the play by email games, just click on the plus, create channel, and create a text channel under there. And I'll also show once you're done with that particular game, let's say you play for 2 weeks and now you're done with it, you can right click on it and just click on delete channel, and it'll remove it from the list. So that's one thing that's recommended, is if you're done with your play by email games, to remove those channels.
Okay. And how do you go about creating a whole new server if you want to do your own individual server?
Yeah, if you want to set up your own server, if you go to the Discord website, I think you might actually be able to do it from in here. I'll have to look real quick.
Okay.
Try to remember exactly where it is that you set it up.
Okay. So it's possible.
Yeah, anybody can go in it and create your own server.
Okay. And then if I have a friend who wants to join me on the Great Campaigns Discord server, how do I get them there so they can join up with me?
Yeah, if you right click on the Great Campaigns server, you can create an invite where it says invite people. And then it'll actually give you a link that you can copy. And then you can send that by email or put it on Facebook. And then if they click on it, it'll open up Discord for them.
Hey, Matt, I've got a question.
Sure.
So I was a participant when we did the World Cup. We played Spain, and I think Zeke was running most of it. But can you just go over, if you've got a multiplayer game, how you can break out? What we did is after each turn, we'd break out into groups and have a discussion. So you just go over that quickly, please.
Yeah, if you wanted to create different, and I'll just bring up the play by email section again. So if you wanted to actually have 2 different voice channels for like 2 different teams, for example, you could do a voice channel, do team 1, and then I'll just create another one, and I'll call it team 2. Now under here, you'll see there's 2 different team sections. Now I won't click on them because it'll actually remove me from this room, because you can only be in one voice room at a time. But that's how you can set up 2 different team rooms.
Okay, so that stays in effect just for that session?
Once you're done with it, you'll want to delete it.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Matt, I had a question for somebody posted a question about what's the difference between the web-based Discord and the downloadable Discord, I guess.
Basically, I think the downloadable has more features. It's smoother. I do know somewhere on the Discord website they recommend to actually download it. I think the web-based is more for if you're traveling, you can still access your servers. But the downloadable is going to be more stable.
Okay.
Yeah, I was just looking under here because it's been a year since I created our server. But on the very left side at the bottom, you can add a server. and there's actually a create my own server button. So you can say it's for a club or a community, or it's for you or your friends. So yeah, anybody can go in as long as you have a Discord account and create their own Discord server. There's no limit to the number of people that can be on your Discord. The only limit that Discord does have, I believe, is the number of actual channels that you can have in it. I believe is 500, which of course we're nowhere near that. And I do know for the voice channels by themselves, there's no limit. But when you have streaming like we are here with cameras, they do put a cap at 25.
And what if I have somebody I know who's on Discord, but I don't know their actual handle name? Is there some way I can find them? If I knew Matt Ferrand was on Discord, but I didn't know your handle.
Yeah, there's a way that you can search. Let me see. Yeah, you can do an add friend. By default, I think it's by username here.
Okay.
I don't know if you can just type in someone's name. I think it's all by username, so you would have to know the username.
Okay, have to know that name. Okay, good. Any other questions for Matt?
Oh, and also as I was pointing out, like I said, you can only be in one voice channel at a time. But you see, for a text channel, you can be in a text channel and a voice channel at the same time. So like right now, we're in a voice channel, but then I'm going back and forth between different text channels at the same time.
Okay.
Can you hear me, Matt?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, it's Mark Booth here. I got my microphone working. How do you change your nickname or your name as it shows up? I believe there's a way.
Yeah, if you right click on your name,
right,
and go to profile, actually no, it's not there. I think it was change nickname. If you right click on your name on the right side and click on change nickname.
All right.
And it'll just change your nickname for that server. So if you go to another server, it'll be your default username.
Excellent. Thank you.
Very good, Matt. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Zeke, do you want to give us an intro to Vassal and Discord? I mean, to Vassal and GCACW.
Sure. Let me pop up my screen share real quick. I'm just going to start from the beginning of like searching for a Vassal module, downloading it, launching it, and then I was going to explain just some of the basics about interacting with most of the modules. So if you're starting from scratch and all you've done is download Vassal, and when you download Vassal, it'll be empty. There will be no modules in it. So if I wanted to search, I'll just do grant takes command. So I've probably already searched this before. So anyways, you come up, I just search grant takes command Vassal module. Usually it'll be the first one, and it'll take you to Vassal's website. You can also search in Vassal's website for, different modules, game system. And then you'll see as I come down here, these are all the different modules I have to pick from. So I'll just pick, the newest one here, version 1.0. It'll download. Just open it when it's done. And I'll just do start a new game offline and select the scenario and then choose a side. And that'll bring it up. This is an older module, but that's how you just download a module and get into it.
But it usually gives you a couple of screens before that if it's the first time, right? You have to sign in with your name and your password.
It'll ask you to create a name and a password. I don't think it ever asks you for your password again. It's just to link it to your moves or something like that. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so that's how you do that. Now you notice with some of these older modules, I'll zoom in a bit so you guys can see clearly. These are with the traditional stacks of counters. So if you hover over it, you'll see it'll break out the stack there and display it next to it. So you can see everything that's in a stack. You can also double click on a stack to expand it. And generally, you can right-click on things in a stack to interact with them. So this is just flipping Johnson from exhausted to not exhausted. Then there's also if you see up top, this one has a spot for counters, force displays, things like that. These are things that are pretty common across all the different Vassal modules. So if I wanted to drag, let's see, army markers. So here's a fatigue marker, right? So you can just click it and drag it onto the board, and then you can incorporate it into a stack wherever you want. You can also copy paste things just like you would anywhere else. But I'm going to switch over to one of the newer modules to show the rest of the stuff. So this is from Rhodes to Gettysburg. And a lot of the newer modules you'll see use what they call all-in-one counters. And I just wanted to explain these because I think a lot of people, if they haven't played online, might not have seen these before. So basically the all-in-one counters whole thing is it eliminates stacking. So there's no fatigue marker, there's no manpower marker. Everything's tracked on the face of the counter. So I zoomed in as far as I could. There we go. So I'll use Bernie as my example here. So on the left, the 11, you have manpower. Then you have the tactical and artillery value, just like you normally would on anything else. The difference is the way you interact with the counters is always by right-clicking. So if I want to add fatigue to Bernie, I right-click, and then I go to fatigue, increase fatigue. There's also a shortcut, a keyboard shortcut for everything. So you'll see next to increase fatigue, it says Control and Q. So I'll increase the fatigue once here, and you'll see it displays the little green bar on the bottom left showing he's at fatigue 1. So then, since I know what the hotkey is now, if I want to raise him again, I'll just do Control Q, taking fatigue 2, 3, and all the way up to 4. The other things that get displayed on this, so right now Bernie's organized. I'm going to make him disorganized. So you'll see the red number is his current disorganized manpower, and then the 11 is just what he would be if he was organized. Some other things you can do, entrenchments. So I'll increase his entrenchment level. So whenever you increase an entrenchment level of a unit, you'll see it'll outline it in this blue border, and then you'll see breastworks 1, or this would be breastworks build. If I increase it again, you'll see breastworks 2, this breastworks built, all the way up to fort and everything else. And again, this has hotkeys for everything again. So if I want to delete it, I can just hit the keyboard shortcut to it, and it takes the entrenchments off. Let me think, what else is on here that's important? You can also increase and decrease artillery values on these counters. I know that some of the other games you have those extra artillery counters you can stack in there, but here if I want to increase the artillery value or change the artillery value, I think I hit the wrong thing. Oh, let me take my, sorry, my Windows snap into other people's stuff because I didn't have it fixed. Let me change that real quick. Okay. All right, so back to Bernie. So you can make him exhausted, not exhausted, demoralized. When you demoralize a unit, it'll line through their artillery value to remind you that it has no artillery value. And then you'll see the D1, which is their demoralization level, level 1. You can increase it again to demoralize 2. That's pretty much it for the individual counters. They're all displayed on the face of the counter, and most of them will have an automatic recovery function built in. So here, I'll show you how that works. So let me take his demoralization level back 1 and his fatigue back a couple. So this is what Bernie looks like right now. And at the top left, you'll see there's sunshine recovery, recovery during normal weather, and then you've got the rain recovery button. So I'll do a normal recovery during normal weather. And so the Vassal module will go across all units and automatically apply all the things you would normally do during a recovery phase. So you see Bernie looks normal. He was fatigued and was demoralized. He recovered. And then you'll see the units that haven't moved. So for example, this artillery reserve unit here, this has been put in breastworks along with the other units beneath him, the other artillery reserves. There are still sometimes stacks. So for example, here's Howard. He's sitting here with a whole bunch of guys. Now you can double click on the stack to break it out if you want to click through the individual units. You can also, for example, if Howard is way down in the stack because you moved a couple guys on top of him, if you click on a unit and then use your arrow keys left and right, you can shift them up and down the stack. So it's nice for sorting through stacks if you have a leader you want to throw on top of it, or just whatever unit you want to see on top. I guess I'll just go through the different functions. This is a pretty standard Vassal module, so I'll just go from left to right across the top. You've got your dice that'll roll up here. You just click it, it rolls it and displays it. The white flag, if you click on it, will let you pick a different side. So right now, I'm pretty sure I'm in here as an observer. So if I click on it, it'll tell you what side you are, and then it'll let you pick a side. It really only matters if you're doing like hidden movement, or if you need to see something specific to one side's tracks. So for example, right now you'll see this is the USA Forces window up here that I'm hovering over. I can't click on it right now because I'm an observer. So if I were to pick a different side and swap to Union, now this is open and I can pull up the force display. It's important to note too, you can drag units back and forth from these displays to the actual Vassal module. So if I grab Bernie, I can bring him onto the force display, and then I could plop a force marker down for him if you were playing with Fog of War. Next you have, there's usually a spot where all the counters live for the game. So in this one, it looks like a counter. You click on it. There will be a drop-down menu. You see USA leaders, infantry, cavalry, force markers, pretty much anything. You just sort through the categories, and you'll see here you can scroll up and down to select your different units. So for example, if I wanted to grab a control marker out of here, I just select it, and then you can just click it and drag it onto the map wherever you want it. So you can do that with anything. What else? Usually the charts are stored in the Vassal module, so you can click on the charts here and just sort through each of them. Combat charts, pretty much everything. Then you've always got your turn track window, which looks, how you'd expect it. Sometimes you'll have reinforcement stuff that just helps you with individual games. And then of course you can zoom in and out. That's pretty much it. I guess I should show how to set up rooms. So I can't make a new room because I think it would boot me out of this one. But for example, you can see here under active games, these are people who are playing against each other right now, probably in a short scenario tournament. And then you'll see current game, it'll show you all the people who are in your current game. You can also send messages to people in game. So if I wanted to, I'll message Bruno, for example. So you just right click on his name, go to private message, and then you just type whatever you want. And then he'll get a little ping on his Vassal module telling him that I sent him a message, and it'll ask him if he wants to receive it. So here's what it looks like. I just got one from Matt. So that's what it'll look like when you send or receive. Sometimes it'll ask you if you close somebody's chat window, if you want to ignore them for the rest of the session. You want to hit no on that. And then if you wanted to set up a new game, right? When you first launch the Vassal module and select online play, it'll take you to this main room where nobody's at right now. If you want to do a new game, you just type in the name of it, and then press enter, and it'll take you into that new room. I think, what else? You can also, if you go under File to Scenarios, this is where it displays all the scenarios that come with the module. So if I didn't have a scenario loaded, I could just go to File, Scenarios, and select one of the 10 scenarios that come with this. Let me make sure that that's everything I wanted to go over. Oh, something else too. A lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes, especially if you're playing with a lot of people in a room, somebody will get desynchronized from the room, which means that they'll tell you they're moving Bernie to Taney Town or something, and it's moving on his screen, but it's not moving on yours. If that happens, what you want to do is right-click on whoever you're not synchronized with and synchronize with them. So for example, if I right click on Bruno again, I can just hit synchronize. It'll ask you if you want to save the game first. I'll say no. And then it'll pull Bruno's game info and send it to me. So if you ever see a mismatch where you're seeing something that other people aren't, all you have to do is right click and resynchronize the Vassal module.
Zeke, I've got a quick question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I've seen Patrick's games, and I'll see him activate a core with divisions in different hexes. And I see he'll click on them very quickly. So I usually have to hunt and pick each division individually. So how does he do it so quickly?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So I'll use Howard as an example. Let me spread his guys out real quick. So if I wanted Howard to activate these three guys, let me zoom in close enough. You can click and drag a box around a group of guys to select them all, and then you can right click and select the thing you want to do to it. So in this case, I'll just say I want to increase fatigue on everybody. And then let me take it back. The other thing you can do is if you know the hotkeys, which are usually Control Q puts fatigue on and Control W takes it off. You can select everybody and then use Control Q to apply fatigue to everybody, or whatever other action you want to apply to a group of people. But yeah, that's a good time saver.
Okay, now how about if there's other units in that spot?
Oh, right. Okay, so let me throw Slocum's guys in here too. So I think it's Shift. So if I want to do Howard, you can click Steinwehr, then holding Shift, click Shirts, click Barlow, and then hotkey them to fatigue them up all the way. But that's holding down Shift and selecting individual units in order to do that.
Great, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
And I think you can also use Shift to deselect as well.
Oh, you're probably
am I right, Zeke? So if you selected all of them, you could deselect Williams and Geary.
Okay, yeah. So here, I'll draw a box around all of them, and then I'm going to deselect Williams and Geary. Okay, that's holding down Control takes it back. So holding down Shift adds them, holding down Control takes them away. Yeah. Oh, Ken, I see you talking, but I think you're muted.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that, Zeke. So
No, it's okay.
sometimes there's things on the board that you can't seem to move. For example, in Gettysburg, in this scenario, there's a circle around it. I think it has something to do with tell you it's a victory point hex. How do you go about actually moving something you can't apparently move?
Okay, yeah. This messed me up the first time I saw it. So, for example, there's this red circle around Gettysburg, and if I click on it, nothing happens. If you hold down Shift and click on it, it'll let you take it and move it around. Sometimes that happens with control markers too. There's certain markers, I think railroad markers, it does it too. Markers you normally wouldn't be picking up and moving, the game will kind of like plaster to the board, and you have to hold down Shift in order to interact with them.
Other questions? Other people got to have some questions here.
I have a question. What's the latest version of Vassal that I see something on Vassal being like a beta version or a 3.4.12? And what version are you using? And can you play with other people who are not using the same exact version?
Yeah, you don't have to have the exact same version of Vassal to play. Matt might know better than me about the specifics. I just know that I never really pay attention to what version I have, and I never seem to have problems, so it must be normally good. If I'm playing like a big multiplayer game with people, then I usually message them and see what module they have just so I don't cause problems. But
yeah, the latest version of the non-beta Vassal is 3.4.12. Like Zeke said, you don't have to have the same version of Vassal to play, but you do want to have the same module version.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead.
So speaking of multiplayer, I know that in a lot of Vassal modules, you have one slot for Confederate, one slot for Union. How do you play a big multiplayer game?
So an observer can usually interact with everything. Well, an observer can interact with everything except for the force displays. So there are certain Vassal modules that support multiple people. So, for example, if you load up the Long Roads to Gettysburg module, there will be a slot for Union overall commander and then 3 slots for Union generals that can all take. So I think it supports up to like 8 people. It might support more than that. But we've run multiplayer games of Roads to Gettysburg before where the overall commander will join and he'll pick, oh, I'm Union, and then the other overall commander will join and pick Confederate, and everybody else just picks Observer. Like, for example, here, I'll swap to Observer real quick just to show you. So right now, I was Union. I'll swap to Observer, and you can still click and interact with units and do anything else that you'd normally do. You just won't see these force displays for like the hidden units. But yeah, some modules support it better than others.
And are there modules for all the games now?
I think so, with the exception of maybe... I know Alberto did a really nice rework of Stonewall's last battle with the new counters. It looks really good. The only one I think there might not be is I've never played the Fredericksburg campaign. I don't know if that's from a skirmisher or something. I don't know for sure that that one has a Vassal module or not. But
That's
everything else I've seen has one.
Excellent. And what's the little map symbol up next to the camera?
Oh, that displays kind of a mini map, so I'll click on that. You can't really change the size of it. In this case, I think it's displaying the whole map. If I click this in Long Roads, it would give me a little scroll bar on each side, and you could scroll around to look at the overall map. Usually it's kind of too small to use, but you can also click around on it. So if you know where something is and you click on the mini map, it'll just take you right to it. So like if I want to go to Gettysburg, I just click right on it and it takes you there. Right next to it, though, the camera is kind of cool. You can save a whole map as a PNG. So, for example, like for some campaigns, it'll save here. So if I hit save right now, it would save this map just as it is, as a giant picture file with all the units on it and everything. Now there's a hide and show pieces button here. So if you hide all the pieces, you can save the map as an image. And sometimes it's kind of handy. I'll use this because if you save the image, you can just take it into Microsoft Paint or something, and I'll like draw myself up like I don't know what the VP values of railroad stations are and like stuff I'd normally forget about. So it can be handy for that.
And you've shown us how to play live against another opponent. What do you do if you want to play by email?
Oh yeah. So for that here, so what I'd want to do then is Vassal uses what's called log files. So if you're not just sending a save file, you're sending a record of all your moves. So I'll go up to File in the top left, and then you want to hit Begin Log File. And so it'll ask you to name it something. I'll just throw this in here in this folder. So it'll ask you to save it somewhere. You can use whatever folder you want to put your save files in. Save it. You can enter comments describing it if you want. And so you'll notice up top it'll say Roads to Gettysburg 3.8 logging to test file 001.vlog. So from here on out, every move you make, it'll record, including dice rolls. So I'll just do like a couple random things and then I'll play back the log file so you can see it. So I'm just dragging a couple guys around. Then whenever you're done with your move, you just go to File, go down and hit End Log File. And it'll say Log File Written. So when you send it to your opponent, I'll show you. So, this is tough because if I close this out, well, I can leave this room and come back in. All right, so trying to figure out how to do it without leaving. Basically, all right,
Close the game.
I'll close this, and then I'll go to load game. And hopefully this works. Okay, so now that I've done that, so I've loaded the log file. It'll say loading test file log, loaded test file log. So I'll zoom in around the area where I was moving, guys. So this is what you'll get when somebody sends you a log file over Discord or through email or Dropbox. When you load it up, there'll be a little play button up at the top left here. And every time you play it, it'll carry out one move or action, everything it recorded. So as I keep hitting play, here comes my dice rolls. And then here comes some of my other moves. And when it's done, it'll ask you if you want to start a new log file. So if I had just played and seen all my opponent's moves and I wanted to send him a move back, I could just hit yes, start a new log file. It'll ask me what to name it. So since the last one was 001, I'll name this one 002. And then I carry out all my moves. And when I'm done with it, I end the log file, and then I can send that file back to the other person. I hope that makes sense. I hope I'm not like glossing over it too fast.
Yeah, no, that's good. Hey, Zeke, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
You get that area in the center that shows, dice rolls and kind of some things that are happening.
Uh-huh.
Is there some way to have it so that it'll show when something, when you increase fatigue levels or subtract or add a manpower? Because, playing play by email, I've had to do it, it's like, okay, did he do that? Did he forget to fatigue up? I've got to go check his things. Is there some way to change that?
So one thing that I do, normally I turn it, well, it depends. So something you can do that will help with that is if you go to your preferences in file, so I'll click on preferences, there's a checkbox for center on opponent's moves. So if you want it to pop over to what they're actively engaged with, you can check mark that. And then whenever somebody else moves something, so I don't know if Matt wants to, here, I'll move my mouse way out of the way. See how it just locked me back over to wherever he's moving, guys. It won't center your screen on it, but it'll keep it in view. So if you're zoomed in, it'll keep you where he's doing stuff at. It won't come up. I know what you mean, like with it saying like increased Barlow by 1 or something like that. It would be nice. I know usually like when I'm playing, like I'll say in the typing area, because you can type messages in the middle bar, I'll usually say like marching Hancock's core, then do my die roll, and then I'll say like increasing fatigue, and then go through my move. Like if you think it's something, I don't know. It's usually good to, I guess, keep like a little bit of a text file going so people know. But I know what you mean, though. It would be nice if it recorded it up top, but it doesn't.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I like that little tip too. I don't know if this happens to anybody else, but I've noticed with my files for play by email, if you're recording a file and you do the undo button, sometimes it can corrupt the file to where your moves will stop moving for the other person.
Yeah.
I know one thing that has been done when they play tournaments is that there is a way to cheat playing with just the Vassal log files, because if you don't like the way your roll went the one time, you can just create a new log file until you finally get it to do the roll you want. I've never had the problem with that with other players, and I never insist upon it. But I know in the past, I think when Mark was running his tournament, that some people would use was it Axe as a die roller, and there's no way you can fudge that. Mark, are you on here? Can you explain that to us?
Sure. Yes. For the Board Game Players Association, we need to make sure for that tournament we used ACTS, ACTS, which they have a die roller basically, and we use that. It's also the issue of all the accounting where you have to actually say where you're going. So it's which units are being activated and where they are going to, which is an accounting burden, which is why live Vassal is so great. But because it's more than just I got the initiative and then roll for the next initiative. It's not, if you get 2 in a row, you can do something differently than you would if you just got 1 initiative in a row. So you actually have to say who you're activating and where they're going. That's how we would run the that tournament to avoid any concerns about that.
So, do we have any other questions for these two presenters? Okay. Great job, guys. This is really, really informative. I hope people got something out of it. I'm hoping everybody will join us online in these COVID times to help play GCACW until we can actually get together to play live face-to-face someday in the future. But until then, we'll continue to play online. And if anybody's interested in now playing a game, now that you've been shown how to play one online, you can jump over to the coffee house and either ask myself, John, or Chris, and we'll try to match you up with another player later tonight. We still got some time to play, or you can jump on over to the Long Roads to Gettysburg game that's going to be continuing to play. You can either watch that or join in. Our next convention tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, we have our introduction to the Great Campaign System. Patrick Pence is going to be showing you all how to play Great Campaigns if you don't know how to play. And then our second round of the short scenario tournament starts at 10 o'clock. You can get involved in that. If you want to sign up, just go on the Google sheet and go on to short scenario tournament and put your name down under the second round. After we get done with the introduction to GCACW, we're going to have an introductory multiplayer game. So anybody that if anyone new to the system wants to learn how to play the system with a commander that will help you with your moves, you can go over there. I'm going to be there. Hopefully have a couple other commanders to help you out. We're going to be playing, I think, the Battle of Gettysburg as our introductory after the learning session at 8 o'clock. So the learning session is at 8 o'clock. The introductory game will start right after that. And then we have our second round of the short scenarios. And then we have 3 other learning sessions tomorrow. We have the cavalry tactics at noon. At 4 o'clock, we've got the advanced flanking. And then we're going to have our designers come on at 8 o'clock, I'm sorry, and talk about the various modules in the system. So any questions from anybody? Okay, once again, thanks Matt and Zeke for giving this presentation to us. It's been very useful, and we'll see everybody else around the convention as we go forward weekend.
Thanks, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Nicely done.